The digital era continues to move as a result of technological advances and globalization. Bank Negara Indonesia is proud of having the opportunity to take part in playing active roles in paving the way for Indonesian banking in keeping with the digital era. Currently, we are moving to create a digital platform and prepare experts for acceleration in digital banking. Our Go Global concept is one of the roles in accelerating economic change for the better. With the presence of Explorer, we encourage the digitization of micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as companies in Indonesia to go international by utilizing BNI's overseas network. BNI, serving the country, the pride of the nation.
For you who hustle before the sun even rises, sailing through life with the spirit that keeps you moving. We've heard of all your determination, which become the calling for BRI with Pegadaian and PNM to synergize, bringing you an ultra-micro ecosystem. It is not for us, it is for you and the nation to go forward, raising you up to grow, handing you answers, bringing you changes for a better life, and opening endless opportunities for everyone to grow even greater all over Indonesia.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have listened to the insightful discussions from our keynote and panel speakers in Session 1 and Session 2 earlier today. Mr. Fajar Hutomo, as our first keynote speaker in this event, has told us about the importance of small and medium enterprises for our country's economy. Guided by our first moderator, Mr. Andrisyah Tauladan, the first panel speaker shared his view on financial industry transformation phenomenon, and Mr. Arif Patrick Rahmat shared his take on what to choose between early-stage startups. In Session 2, we focus on discussing the role of circular economy in business sustainability. Ms. Aninda Anissa moderated the session and discussed with Mr. Fazrin Rahman on the circular economy brief and his take on the importance of environmental, social, and governance for companies. The second session ended with Mr. Bambang Brojonegoro giving insightful points on sustainable business and investment. I would like to invite you all to stay with me for the next session, as many notable and insightful speakers will discuss digital financial inclusion to reduce inequality. Ladies and gentlemen, as I have said before, we are approaching our third and final topic of the day, which is digital financial inclusion to reduce inequality. Our moderator for the third session graduated from the George Washington University, majoring in international relations and international economics. He previously worked at Asia Group Advisors as a political and economic analyst, and today he is the Deputy CEO at BeritaSatu Holdings. So right away, Mr. Anthony Wonsono, the time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow entrepreneurs, investors, and friends, welcome back, and thank you for joining us this afternoon at the World Business and Angel Investors Week 2021. My name is Anthony Wonsono, Deputy CEO of BeritaSatu Holdings, one of Indonesia's leading multi-platform media groups, and I'll be your moderator for our third and final session. In this session, we will be hearing from our esteemed panel, represented by policymakers, practitioners, and investors. We begin with Dr. Dedy Permadi, spokesperson and special advisor to Minister of Communications and Informatics, Mr. Djani G. Plate. We'll be hearing from founder and CEO of ALAMI, Mr. Dima Djani, and founding CEO of BRI Ventures, Mr. Nicko Widjaja. The topic at hand, the role of digital financial inclusion to reduce inequality. Indonesia has come a long way to improve the national living standard, from 23.4% of the population living below the poverty line in 1999 to 9.78% last year. Yet that still leaves 26.4 million Indonesians living in poor conditions. Before we proceed, I'll give it back to our MC.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony. Ladies and gentlemen, in our third and final topic, maybe I would like to chat a bit with our moderator, Mr. Anthony. Maybe we can talk a bit about the role of digital inclusion in order to reduce inequality.
Yeah, I think there's no one-fits-all magic bullet solution to combat inequality and poverty, of course, but financial inclusion has often been hailed as arguably one of a critical stepping stone to climb out of poverty for any developing and developed nation. The advent of digital ecosystems, economies, and technologies has spurred this critical step forward in Indonesia in particular, providing millions of previously unbanked and underserved Indonesians with digital wallets, access to capital and financial services, and of course, a larger market to serve and commercialize. Here, allow me to maybe also highlight two interesting data points that I find from OJK, published in 2019, that may give us a better picture of where Indonesia stands today regarding financial inclusion. The first is that in 2019, we have actually only reached 76% of financial inclusion. An impressive feat, though clearly still, again, tens of millions of the population unbanked. The second, and perhaps more worrisome, is that only 38% of Indonesia's population can be said to have financial literacy. Clearly, while the opportunities abound, obstacles still persist.
Obviously, that's very fascinating, but I would like to ask, what is the most realistic solution so that we can realize this whole digital financial inclusion to reduce inequality? Maybe the most simple step that the government or the people can do.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you asked, because I certainly do not have the whole answer. I'm glad we do have, however, three wonderful panelists who I think will have a much better and deeper insight on the issue at hand.
Very well.
So, without further ado, I think we should introduce our first speaker today, Dr. Dedy Permadi, spokesperson and special advisor. Oh, sorry. Our first speaker today is the founder and CEO of ALAMI, Mr. Dima Djani. Mr. Dima, we will be speaking about how digital ecosystems can reduce inequality. Mr. Dima, the time is yours. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. Thank you very much for the time to talk here and share a little bit of my views on how the digital ecosystem can reduce inequality. I think it's a very important segment for society to reduce the poverty and thus inequality using the digital ecosystem. Access to financing is one of the ways to be able to help like the bottom of the pyramid or some of the small businesses to to grow sustainably and increase their welfare. Without the digital ecosystem, it's very hard for financial institution to reach out to the unbanked, so to speak, especially when they are in rural areas, and it can only be enabled through a digital ecosystem that already functioning. And a lot of financial institution or fintech now becoming kind of the embedded finance solution to help with their capital, to help with their what do you call it, financing for the working capital. So an initiative that we do with our partner eFishery, for example, is to provide it's a BNPL, buy now pay later, for fish farmers to pay for their feed for the fishes. So rather than paying it in cash, and it's very hard usually to have financing, and if any, they would only have access to obtain very expensive financing through loan sharks across the villages. So now they have an option through the digital ecosystem for our financing that has friendlier terms for them to increase the capacity of their production. So we have in ALAMI, we have disbursed close to 100 billion of financings to fish farmers for over 700 fish farmers, close to 1,000 now, so that they can increase their size of the pool and the amount of fishes that they eventually will sell and grow the business in a more sustainably. We are also in discussion with some other digital ecosystem, like the warungs, different type of agri, different type of aquaculture, just because now they're more I would say financeable, because some of their data and traction have already been captured into the digital ecosystem partners. So I think this is an innovation that can help to reduce the wealth inequality in the society where a lot of the people are still relatively unbanked, such as the emerging markets.
So much for your brief input regarding digital ecosystems. If I may ask a little bit, can you explain maybe exactly what ALAMI is for our audience that may not yet be aware?
Sure. So ALAMI is a Sharia compliant peer-to-peer lending platform. So we provide SME financing and also individual financing for productive purpose. Essentially, it's a working capital loan and invoice financing. So we are open to finance these SMEs, and we're also open to individuals or institutions that would like to lend and receive returns in a Sharia compliant way. We've started off in 2019, getting the license from OJK, and now we have disbursed more than 1 trillion rupiah, so about 70 million US dollars equivalent. We have 100% repayment rate so far, and right now we are the largest Islamic fintech lending in the world at the moment.
Did you say the largest in the world?
Yes, we
Oh,
just got, yes, globally in terms of the Islamic fintech lending, we are the largest, and we're also awarded by the AAA, the asset, as the best Islamic fintech lending globally into 2020.
I see. If I may ask, generally speaking, how large is the size of per disbursement, per loan provided?
Yes, in our invoice financing product, typically it's about 700 million rupiah for SMEs, and for the BNPL product that we have for the farmers, it's about 30 to 50 million.
30 to 50 million, I see. Okay.
Rupiah, yes.
And so how are you able to get 100% repayment rate? What do you think is the secret formula for such a high success rate?
Yeah, I think it's due to the fact that we're focusing on the invoice financing, and we have uh, quite a tight risk acceptance criteria. So we're focusing on not only defensive sector, but also impact sector. So we're focusing on healthcare, logistics, basic food, and agriculture. And as for the BNPL, we're also have data from our partners, so we can effectively measure and screen some of the borrowers. So far there are some late payments, but then no default until now.
I see. So you've been very clear about a case study where you'll be able to provide lending to fish farmers, right? A total of over 100 billion rupiah, I imagine,
Hmm.
in financing to over 700, almost 1,000 fish farmers, correct?
That's correct.
So maybe if we go back a little bit towards the fact that you are a Sharia compliant fintech company, where do you see the growth in this sector specifically for Indonesia? Right, as you said, you're the largest not only in Indonesia but also the globe, which means that obviously there's still opportunities within this field. But with regards to specifically maybe the regulatory ecosystem in Indonesia, what do you think we can do in order to maximize the services that you provide and the type of financing that companies, startups like ALAMI or anyone
Hmm.
else within the Sharia banking and Sharia financing ecosystem can actually leverage on?
Yeah, I think the Indonesian government has declared that they want to make Indonesia as the center of the halal economy, right? So I guess we're aligned with the government's objective. In terms of the regulatory front, I think the government, OJK particularly, and BI have already designed a blueprint that will be beneficial for companies such as us to create more innovations. We're also expanding, completing our ecosystem by acquiring a Syria rural bank that we would want to put technology there to kind of complete the current ecosystem that we have. So I think by having this bank called Hijra Bank, I think it can serve more Muslims and non-Muslims through the Sharia compliant financing structure.
I see. That's very exciting. Can I ask, why specifically did you decide to go into Sharia financing as opposed to conventional P2P lending?
Yeah. I think given the Indonesia is the largest Muslim market and the low penetration of Islamic banking of about 6%, the opportunity is quite sizable, definitely. And I think the timing couldn't be more right because we're seeing uh, a huge shift into a more Islamic lifestyle, especially among the millennials and Gen Z. Like they would like to become more successful, but also more balanced in their approach of life. So in a way to become a better Muslim, so they're more aware of doing Sharia compliance finance, for example, or coming into Sharia banks in addition to like having like halal food and modest fashion. So we're seeing a huge shift over the last 5 years, and we see that some the players haven't really been effectively tapping this market growth just because a lot of them have legacy system. So we're creating our solution from scratch so we can tailor our infrastructure going forward to be able to scale following the growth in the demand. So for example, our monthly retention rate is above 70% on the over the last 7 months, meaning that even though we're not offering the best returns in terms of the P2P margin back to our retail funders, they're quite sticky because they want to shift into like more Islamic, and so far like we're like the one that been performing the most. So there's the engagement and the stickiness there. because they're moving into that kind of lifestyle as well. So I think that that's kind of the thesis that why we're choosing this specific niche that's growing rapidly.
I see. Okay. Um, we have a question from our audience in YouTube. Let me pose it to you. Your planned acquisition of the Hijra Bank, will it act as a digitally based bank? And how do you foresee as the competition between this new bank with Bank Syariah Indonesia, which is currently the largest Sharia bank after the merger of BOM and Sharia units nationwide? I mean, do you see a different competition line? Do you see the market is still ripe? What's your competitive advantage? Please go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I think technology would definitely be a centerpiece of the Hydro Bank. And I think the way we design and set up the technology is also, I would say, can be very competitive even to the national bank. So that's a yes. Then we're following the OJK regulation, obviously, on this front. In terms of the competition with BSI, I think we're complementing each other. BSI's core, I would say, like segment coming from the Bank Syariah Mandiri, BNI Syariah, and BRI Syariah, they already have their markets. And for us, I think we are targeting more younger population. So I think there's still market that is like growing for everybody to tap. So we don't really see we are competing head on with BSI.
Okay. Let me ask, you've been talking a lot about your millennial borrowers and a younger demographic that you see is much more heavily inclined now towards Sharia financing. What is the target market of ALAMI, and thus far, what is the age range of your current existing borrowers?
Hmm. So the borrowers for us right now is mostly SMEs, right? So we are looking at the actually the lenders, the retail lenders. So for the retail lenders that we're gonna cross sell to the banking also going forward, the typical demographic is they're urbanites living in urban areas. In terms of the age, is typically 25 to 35. Typically, they either just got married or just have a first child. So this is what we see as the moment where people start to, becoming more balanced in terms of, the world and the hereafter. So this is our primary target customers.
I see. So I apologize, you're right, P2P lending, so you're actually focusing on the lenders. Did you mention earlier how many total lenders ALAMI has today?
Currently, we have around 50,000 of lenders in our system.
Contributing, you said, to 1 trillion rupiah in total disbursement since 2019.
Yes.
I see. Okay. One more question from my side. Uh, as a practitioner, you've been at least in ALAMI since 2019. I'm sure before that in the industry as well. You've grown from 0 to 1 trillion in the span of a year and a half. It looks like 2 years, right? And you've seen that you've spoken. Obviously, there's massive potential. There's only 6% penetration, and it looks like this market is going to continue to grow. But perhaps if you can touch on a little bit, what do you view as the obstacles that would inhibit growth at this moment? We spoke earlier as well about digital financial literacy, for example. We spoke about issues regarding connectivity, right? We spoke about issues regarding digital infrastructure and so on and so forth. What do you see is keeping you from 100 trillion over the next 2 to 3 years?
Right. I think we've discussed some of these as you mentioned. So let me just get into specifics on our market. It's basically the Islamic finance literacy. It's still quite low and have been confusing also in the market. So some people have different interpretation of what can be done and what can't be done. And typically some key opinion leaders, or in this case the ustads or like the clerics, like they have like a lot of followers, and they say this is doable, this can't be done, this and that. So we still have that kind of dynamics, I would say, in the market when it comes to Islamic finance. So this is something that we were also trying to solve with our community team.
I see. Okay. One follow-up question regarding that one from YouTube. Um, why do you think that now is the right time to go digital? Because Sharia financing has actually been around for a very long time, right? In different forms and in different scales, obviously. But what do you see as the key driving factors that has allowed you to take the leap and make 2019 into 2021 as the right time to enter? And maybe not only as yourself as the platform, but also as towards lenders, right? You want to obviously grow your lenders base, you want to grow your clients. What do you think is a sell point for them?
Yeah, I think going forward, I mean, financial industry has been using technology since forever. I think the new business model that could only be enabled by using cheaper technology is something that people start to see and follow, because essentially, like, our market, those who are even becoming, I would say, become a better Muslim, is learning through social media. I mean, they're watching YouTube, watching the kajian online, and looking at Instagram and everything. So obviously, we would like to also add our product into the media that they often interact with. So I guess this is definitely the perfect time. I think with the government introducing the CAN EKS, the Acceleration Committee for Islamic Finance and Halal Economy, with the government merging all the Islamic state-owned banks together, I think the nuance is there that we really want to be the champion in this field, given our potential market. We don't want to be only consumers. We also want to be the leading players. So I think the stars are aligned. So I guess this is the perfect timing to enter the market.
Awesome. Okay. So, thank you so much for your time, for your insights, for your sharing. It sounds like it's clear that you guys are empowering thousands, tens of thousands, and hopefully hundreds of thousands and millions of SMEs down the road in Indonesia through ALAMI as a platform. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue to our second topic today, which will be about Indonesia's readiness to enter Industry 4.0. And with that, I would like to invite Dr. Dedy Permadi, spokesperson and special advisor to the Minister of Communications and Informatics for Digital Policy and Human Resources. Hi, Dr. Dedy.
Hi Pak, good afternoon.
Salam kenal Pak. Silakan, the time is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you Pak. Uh, Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share some points on the Indonesia Readiness in Industry 4.0 on behalf of the Minister of Communication and Informatics, Pak Djani Plate. Speakers and participants, as the core of an inclusive and sustainable digital transformation, we are in the process of the deployment of digital infrastructure across Indonesia in specific rural and less developed areas to improve Indonesia's internet link ratio, to bridge the digital divide, and to expand the utilization of digital technology within the society. As you can see in the picture on the screen here, we are developing the ICT infrastructure from the backbone layer, middle mile layer, and last mile layer. The effort to push Indonesia's readiness is not only for Industry 4.0, but also to accelerate digital transformation. With the increasing utilization of data and the emergence of new technologies, Indonesia is of the view that the rise of Industry 4.0 is a momentum for the growth of impactful innovations. Bridging day-to-day business and activities become much easier and effective with the utilization of data, resulting in the significance of data-driven economy. Industry 4.0 has unleashed the potential of entities to boost their productivity through the utilization of new digital technologies. Some innovation have their relevance increased, such as AI, robotics, digital simulation, and human-machine interface. The adoption of those innovations is enabled by several technologies, such as cybersecurity, big data management, control technologies, and analytics. Against this backdrop, the development of 5G network in Indonesia is expected to provide more opportunities through its ability to deliver faster data transmission, a more flexible bandwidth capacity with less energy consumption. 5G network will improve the development and the application of emerging digital technologies that enables Industry 4.0 to grow. In the first half of 2021, technology startup funding in Southeast Asia has reached 4.4 billion US dollar, whereby Indonesia secured 50% of these raised capitals, followed by Singapore, which accounted for 32% of the total capital raised. Less than 10% of the deals were Series C funding, with the majority were Series B, Series A, or pre-Series A funding. Indonesia is an attractive market for startups investment, as Indonesia's internet users are reported to reach more than 200 million users, with 37% new users of total digital services users when onboarding during COVID-19 pandemic. Moreover, the value of Indonesia's digital economy has reached 44 billion US dollars in 2020 and is estimated to grow to 124 billion US dollar in 2025 and more than 300 billion US dollar in 2030. Forbes Asia has just released Forbes Asia 100 to Watch of 2021, which comprises of 100 Asia Pacific small companies and startups amidst the challenging pandemic situation. 8 Indonesian startups have successfully made to cut the list, 7 of which are tech startups: Dekoruma, Privi.id, Bobobox, Evermos, Sampingan, Populis, and Autoclicks. This list of Indonesian startups has again set the strong foundation of the promising trajectory of Indonesia's digital economy growth path. Aligned with President Joko Widodo's direction regarding economic transformation, efforts in accelerating digital transformation, specifically in digital economy sector, will focus in supporting 1. The development of downstream industries. Second, digitalization of micro, small, and medium enterprises. And third, green economy. The priority programs are meant to develop Indonesia's digital economy ecosystem in 2021 by facilitating digital MSMEs development, digital literacy training, and digital onboarding assistance. Digital technology adoption development program is also carried out in 6 priority sectors of agriculture, maritime, tourism, education, health, and logistics. A flagship program in developing digital startup ecosystem, startupdigital.id, consists of 5 main programs as follows. 1. Sekolah Beta, a series of basic knowledge briefing classes related to tech startup concepts and business models for early enthusiasts or startups industry beginners. 2. Gerakan Nasional 1000 Startup Digital, or National Movement of 1000 Digital Startup, a mentoring program for prospective startup founders in starting a business and make a viable product. 3. Startupstudio.id, a coaching program for entry-level startups in developing market-fit products and increasing the number of customer acquisitions. 4. Hub.id, a business matchmaking program between startups and potential investors from private corporations, state-owned enterprise, angel investors, and venture capital to develop an investment ecosystem that encourages the development of the next unicorn startup in Indonesia. And 5, Indonesia Game Developer Exchange, a mentoring program, business meetings, and promotions to increase the capacity and quantity of Indonesian game developers, as well as develop an investment ecosystem and synergy between game developer and global investor corporations and the government. Promoting financial inclusion through digital innovation is one of the urgent issues to address that is timely to the goal of eradicating poverty by ensuring financial services are accessible for everyone. 1.7 billion adults worldwide do not have a bank account, to which 1.1 billion of them have a mobile phone. These numbers are seen within the developing countries, where these countries are fostering as well as capitalizing on the widespread use of mobile phones and information and communication technologies. This milestone is critical to ensure that people within reach can be lifted out of poverty by providing accessible financial services. In times of crisis, such as current pandemic COVID-19, digital financial inclusion presents as enabling tools for governments to ensure that Social Security aids reach the right target recipients, such as vulnerable social economic classes, to recover stronger. We welcome the collaboration of early stage investment for Indonesia's digital startups with all business angel investors, especially investments for those innovating ways to promote financial inclusion. A more intensive collaboration amongst all stakeholders within the digital economy space is imperative to maximize the benefit of digitalization to foster faster economic recovery. Indonesia is a vibrant market with homegrown, decacorn, and unicorn startups that are setting best practice example for the next unicorns in Indonesia to keep thriving amidst the pandemic. The future is bright for collaboration that uphold the spirit of optimistic growth toward a connected Indonesia. The more digital, the more prosperous. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful speech and insights. If I may invite yourself and also Mr. Dima and Mr. Nicko, and also Pa Mulyandi Nasution, Chairman of WBAF, to join us for a quick photo session, please. Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you everyone so much for your time and contribution. We are now going to continue to our third topic, the future of business transactions, from the founding CEO of BRI Ventures and a good friend, Mr. Nicko Widjaja. Pa Nicko, we welcome you on screen to give us your presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Anthony, how are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. Hey, so yeah, I didn't know I have a presentation, but let's go through it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Nicko Widjaja. I'm the CEO of BRI Ventures, and I've been in corporate VC for I think more than 8 years, I guess. And this is my second gig in the SOE settings of corporate venturing. Can we move to next slide? Okay. So what is BRI Ventures? We are a venture arm of Bank BRI, or now called BRI Group, with a 250 million US dollars AUM in our first fund, which is focusing on the innovation of digital services. Mainly, we invested in growth stage startups. Has to be OJK license, and already had enough attractions per se, and we had 2 unicorns in our portfolio right now. And on the other hand, we also launched the first Indonesia OJK licensed venture fund, which is interesting because most of the fund that is in Indonesia, they are actually established in Singapore under a VC FM license. And for all other SOE fund, although Mandiri and some other guys are also OJK, but it is a balance sheet fund rather than a venture fund, for example. So during the 2020, in the middle of 2020, we decided to go ahead to OJK and apply the license for a venture fund, because we thought, and especially if you guys remember 2020, where everything is kind of gloomy and with no prospect of recovering, we decided to not go with the VCFM. So we decided to go local. And surprisingly, when we discussed with the regulators, we didn't really have the GPLP type of a structure. So what we have is the type of a mutual fund structure, although we kind of design it as if this type of mutual fund structure go as GPLP. So we call it Dana Ventura Sembrani Nusantara for a reason. Sembrani is the mythical horse ridden by Batara Wisnu in the local Javanese folklore. So we thought that, you know, if we really want to go for the next unicorns, we have to have the local wisdom and the startup we call a Sembrani rather than a dark horse or anything else. So it's exciting. Actually, the Sembrani Nusantara, we had the LP, and we did a more than a quarter, I guess, almost 6 months fundraising of $30 million. And we have LPs, investors such as Grab Ventures. We have Celebes Capital, and we have Buana Finance and some family offices from Singapore. But more excitingly, though, we have some of the startup founders, a Centaur class startup, which means their valuation is already up $500 million or, you know, close to that or more. They invested back into the Dana Ventura Sembrani Nusantara to grow the next emerging growth sectors in digital, which is, you know, I thought it was really exciting to see that. I mean, that's the most exciting part of it, because we can see the type of a culture that we see in Silicon Valley, where, you know, not most founders, but all founders are going back, you know, into mentoring the next upcoming startups. So next. Oh, I think I have a lot of this. Okay, so again, the main fund we invested in mainly in fintech, you know, and we have sort of a P2P lending sectors, payment, and we keep looking into the next emerging fintech sectors or subsectors. There are wealth management startups that we are looking into right now. We are also teasing on the possibility of the crypto accelerators, and hopefully one day a crypto startups. So it's becoming more exciting and clear where we headed, you know, as a nation, especially during the global crisis. Most of the digital sectors has been accelerated rapidly, and we see all the transactions, digital transactions, are looking at a very good prospect. Most of our portfolio companies, similar with Pak Dima, also had a digital bank play in it too. So as we can see how things are shaping up for the next 5-10 years of Indonesia's digital industry. For a Sembrani fund, we invested in not fintech, but we invested in something that is gearing toward a type of embedded finance type of companies. We invested in agriculture, Tani Hub and Sayur Box, which they are gearing toward fund. We have logistics, we have cloud kitchen and retail stuff that we just learned surprisingly in the past year or so, that will be leading to the next Sembrani 2 fund that will be more focusing on the D2C sectors. So this new retail that we are observing in the past year has leading toward the creation of the next sector of growth, which is that we see the D2C, meaning all the brands that is that has grown through social media. These guys had a lot of potentials in the upcoming decade or so. So and for that, we are waiting for the clearance by the OJK. I hope everything will be approved by this month. Yeah, next slide. Okay, what's this? Okay, so I guess, I've been in this business for almost 10 years, and I can see the role of venture capital in Indonesia will not be as if the pure the 100% venture capital like the US, right? I guess most of the venture capital in this part of the world, Singapore and Indonesia, we are somewhat evolving. A hybrid of investment bankers, private equity, startups, even startup founders, and venture builders. So what we do is actually not only making an investment per se, but in this field, as you can see, there's a lacking of talent. There's a lack of talent, especially in venture capital. If you can go on LinkedIn right now, there are probably less than 100 names from Indonesia that is doing this profession. So what we do is, of course, we engage with universities. We co-design a venture capital curriculum with ITB School of Business Management that is just launched this quarter. And we build partnerships with SOEs alike, with private sectors, with governments, on the way how to generate quite a healthier pipeline of deals. And as you can see, most of the venture capital like to talk, right? This is how we share our thoughts on how to build a more sustainable ecosystem of startup financing. In Indonesia, not many people know either, but just before the COVID, there's a lot of tourist VC. That's how we call them. Meaning as micro funds from China or Korea trying to get into the market, a ticket to play in Indonesia, but they didn't really know the valuation, they didn't know the market. So what they did is apa tuh istilahnya bahasa Inggris, merusak harga gitu ya. So what they did is actually just invest in anything they can find and agree upon the valuation, although it's not there yet. So so we have to build this this framework of thinking, especially when we are investing into a high growth and yet a high risk companies. And lastly, we operate funds. We also manage relationship with especially founders, investors, and we are trying to solve some of the gaps in startup financing in Indonesia. As we can learn, the beginning of Indonesia startup ecosystem financing is not recognized by many, but the first guys that was here, it was the Japanese. They got nothing to do. The startup foundation in Indonesia got nothing to do with Indonesia's private sectors, SOEs, or government. We have to understand that back in 2011, 2010, when I guess one of the Japanese investors funded Tokopedia, the lesson know that everything is built upon the idea that Indonesia will have the bonus demographics, and Indonesia will have this emerging digital economy. So the foreign capital was the first believers of Indonesia, and I guess over the 10 years we still have a let's say, gap in financing. There are a lot of small micro funds that is focusing on seed capital, but there are not many growth and later stage capital in Indonesia right now. And then, what's concerning to me is that of course, startup follows the money, and the money right now is on the emerging tech. But there are a lot of uh, entrepreneurs out there, and especially in the lesser tech department, meaning that they are still using tech as an enabler, but they're not really like uh, tech core type of companies. These guys also had, you know, a big opportunity in the future. As you can see, most of the brands right now in Zalora or Tokopedia, fashion brands, for example, they are not only made in Indonesia, but they are brand that is growing through social media and believed by many younger Indonesian demographics. So I guess when we launched the Sembrani Nusantara mid 2020, we also launched a multiple investment arms, including venture debt. This is something that is overlooked in the past 5-10 years because equity was still cheap. But during the COVID, there are many companies that is not willing to sacrifice most of their equity for a lower valuations. So what we did, especially in the later on of 2020, we launched our venture debt to operate their inventory, to operate their what do we say, the operating OPEX. So we did open up, a lot of opportunities here, especially on the closing up the financing gaps for entrepreneurs. So I think I'm going to stop here, Anthony, because I guess
I think it's worthwhile for us to talk more deeply maybe about financial inclusion and inequality, man. But no, thank you again for your masterclass, as always, on the future of Indonesia's venture field. Look forward to continuously raising. I'm sure that you're on your second round or third round now? Second fund or third fund?
we are on our third fund right now.
Wow, exciting.
Thanks.
Okay, hopefully ALAMI is also somewhere in the radar there.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff that they're doing, right? So allow me, I'm afraid we don't have that much time anymore in order to dig a little bit deeper. I think there's a lot that's already been said regarding in financial inclusion and inequality, right? I think the thesis is generally well built by now. But you mentioned something just recently, and I think that part of it has been less exposed to the public, especially in Indonesia, regarding crypto, right? And tying it back from cryptocurrencies to financial inclusion to inequality. I also know you just launched your own personal NFT, which if you wanna sell it, let me know. But if you can maybe share a little bit, what are your views on cryptocurrencies in Indonesia? What might their impact be towards broader financial inclusion and towards income inequality or inequality in general in the country or globally on a macro view?
Well, let's say blockchain, Web 3.0 is, revolutionary. Although we talk a lot about blockchain and crypto in a mainstream discussion, but if it's implemented correctly, it will change the entire foundation of how we live, especially in the developing countries. Because everybody will see, your ledgers, for example. And cryptocurrency, the barrier to entry is really about the understanding of it, right? It is, you know, it has many, it especially recently among the younger millennials, your age group, and and the older Gen Z. It has so many gamification out of it too, and I guess cryptocurrencies like any other can function as the medium of exchange, and it will be regulated by the BAPT or already regulated by the BAPT right now. So as long as more companies accept cryptocurrency as a payment, and we heard a lot of them in this past several months, and more people will perceive the valuation of it existed, and it will stay, right? But I guess in the corporate setting, especially in SOE right now, we are engaging with Toko Crypto. We are about to launch our first crypto blockchain accelerators, and we will have the first use case, which will be implemented in the supply chain type of case with BRI Group. So I guess I don't know. Cryptocurrency, I still believe that cryptocurrency is not prone by the manipulation of institutional like the banking sectors and the central banks, for example, right?
As
But
you are
there's definitely
representing
a
the
lot of
banking sector.
implications it can create to a younger generations, wealth creations, especially, and therefore, I guess the future of crypto and blockchain will be it has to break some status quo when especially my generations and the generation before me, holding the majority of the global wealth.
I see. Okay, so you do admit that you do hold part of the global wealth. Um,
I do admit I'm old.
no. So let me, okay, maybe a bit of a follow-up question. You spoke a little bit about how one of the biggest barriers to entry is literacy and education of crypto. And you did say that Bapepti is regulating cryptocurrencies in Indonesia, but as a commodity, not as a method of transaction. And so all of the transactions that we're kind of seeing happening around the country, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, is more towards workarounds the system, right? Some form of trading and loyalty-based schemes. How do you view this evolving? Should it evolve into becoming a direct transactional tool within the country? I think we've seen two opposites, right? China just completely blocked everything, and then yet we've seen other countries try and somewhat failed in the beginning. We have yet to see use Bitcoin as a nationally transacted currency. So I don't know, where do you think Indonesia stands? How do we evolve? Should we evolve to using it as a more mainstream transactional tool?
We see a one case, I guess, that is done by Visa, where bisa diakalin, that
Bisa diakalin
they
eh?
launched, yeah, they launched the card issuance, which is as the form of payment, but it's not really using crypto to pay, and we did some experiment with Pegadaian in the past, where Pegadaian launched tabungan emas, which is also can be somewhat of a card issuance, where the virtual gold is the foundations of payment, and what you need is the nanomilliseconds to process rupiahs into IDRT and into virtual gold. This is something that that will happen I guess in the near future, if not next year or so. And I don't think any regulators, just like the emerging of P2P lending in Indonesia back in the day, you can really hold off progress.
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And that I guess the policymakers and the regulators, has to be like monitoring transaction made by this mean, and to be able to do this, I guess the regulators has to play catch up with the rest of the industry before the mass adoptions really happen. Uh, and so to happen, I guess this is a race against time.
I see. So we're looking forward to your white paper and opinion piece on crypto regulations next then. One question from the audience, I think in the interest of time, maybe two. Uh, Regarding regulations, again, I think there's a lot of international audience here that wants to enter the Indonesian market, right? The first question is, what are your views on starting fintech companies in Indonesia? What are the regulations like? How difficult or easy it is? There is Wang Choi from Zoom who wants to extend their platform from Taiwan here. And maybe the second question, I'll langsung tanya. Hakan from Mongolia is interested in investing in agriculture. Are there any special incentives from your government, knowing that you are from Tani Hub and a wide range of other agribusiness-based portfolio companies? Silakan,
I'm
Pak.
not really sure about the second one, but let's say, if you're a fintech, so I'm assuming P2P from Taiwan, right? It depends on what type of fintech, but I guess P2P is highly regulated, and if you're not backed up by a big institutions, in Taiwan, I'm guessing it's pretty hard, right? Because the P2P segment is, getting more saturated in Indonesia right now. We have, both consumptive lending and productive lending, and especially on the productive lending, it's really hard to kind of enter the game right now in Indonesia. And just quite recently, I mean, even consumptive lending, it's becoming more harder since one of the portfolio of my previous company just got into unicorns level. So I guess, but again, the regulations, the OJK gives a sandbox, for everyone to try out, new innovations in financing. So I guess, like I guess it can take more than a year, maybe.
Yeah, especially for P2P, and rightly so, right? I mean, there's just
Yeah,
so much illegal online activity.
yeah. As for the second question, though, does government give incentives? Yes, I guess there's Bansos funding that is being channeled through the Tani Fund as well. Other than that, I didn't really know.
Well, I guess the biggest incentive is being able to talk to you and hopefully investing in your second round or through Tani Hub. We'd like to thank you again, Nicko, sorry, for your time and contribution today. We look forward to hearing from you in future sessions and future mediums as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anthony. Take care.
Take care. Have a good night. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We've come to the end of our third and final session for the World Business Angel Investors Week 2021. We've heard a lot of great things from a lot of our extraordinary panel. We've seen use cases for how digital finance is able to create solutions for income inequality through the provision of financial inclusion. We have seen how companies like ALAMI is able to provide hundreds and billions of rupiah in financing for everything from fish farmers to other agriculture business players. We've also heard from the government directly that the Indonesian government is clearly dedicated and committed, invested in increasing the level of infrastructure in Indonesia and create a more level playing field, not only for companies and startups, but also for the general public to be able to access the digital economy and make sure to reap its benefits. And of course, from Nicko, we've also heard that the future of venture businesses in Indonesia and the future of venture capital continues to evolve. Localizing venture businesses and investments, such as what BVI is doing or BRI Ventures is doing, is critical to creating a new wave of Indonesian entrepreneurs, startups, and a more distinguished and rich, vibrant digital economy and digital ecosystem. Obviously, obstacles still exist, regulatory issues, literacy issues being maybe the primary concern today. And we look forward to how both the private sector, the public sector, the civil sector, and everyone in Indonesia can continue to contribute towards financial inclusion in Indonesia in order to combat inequality. Again, I'm Anthony Wonsono. Thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to hearing back from you. And I return it to the MC. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony. And that marks the end of our third and final session. I hope that there will be many lessons learned from our discussion. We are very happy and glad with all the amazing and enthusiastic participants today, which I believe are some of the greatest minds in economy, which will accelerate our recovery process. And now, to deliver their closing speeches, please welcome Muhammad Reza as the chairman of World Business Angel Investors Week 2021 Indonesian Committee.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, angel investors, entrepreneurs, startups, and circular economy enthusiasts. On behalf of the committee, it is truly an honor for us to organize the first ever World Business Angel Investors Week 2021 in Indonesia. With Indonesia currently experiencing a demographic dividend, we believe that Indonesia has a massive potential to develop its economy and generate entrepreneurs in multiple sectors to become a world-class business player. I would like to express our gratitude to our notable speakers, Mr. Erick Thohir, Minister of State-Owned Enterprises, Mr. Sandiaga Uno, Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, which was represented by Mr. Fajar Hutomo, the Deputy for Industry and Investment Division of the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, and to Mr. Djani J. Plate, Minister of Communication and Informatics, which represented by Dr. Dedy Permadi as the spokesperson and special advisor to the Minister of Communication and Informatics. Next, to Pak Mr. Arif Patrick Rahmat, Director of Triputra Group and Chairman of Endeavor Indonesia. To Mr. Nicko Widjaja, Founding CEO of BRI Ventures. To Mr. Bambang Brojonegoro, President Commissioner of Bukalapak. To Mr. Dima Djani, Founder and CEO of ALAMI. To Mr. Roy Sembel, Professor Distinguished Chair for Finance and Investment at IPMI International Business School. To Mr. Aldi Adrian Hartanto, Partner at Arise and VP of Investment at MDI Ventures. And to Mr. Fazrin Rahman, Venture Builder at Enview. And also to our admirable moderators, Mr. Anthony Wonsono, Deputy CEO of BeritaSatu Holdings, Mr. Andri Syah Tauladan, Advisor of Asetku and Management Board at LSP Fintech Indonesia, and to Ms. Aninda Anissa, Associate Venture Builder at Enview. We acknowledge your support to this event and to our government to become the host of G20 in 2022. On this occasion, we are also grateful for the support of our sponsors, Triputra Group, Bank Rakyat Indonesia, Bank Negara Indonesia, and Telkomsel. To our media partner, BeritaSatu Holdings, and to our community partner, Ikatan Alumni Universitas Indonesia. With your tremendous support, this event could benefit even greater people. So, let me refresh a bit about what is truly our objective of the event. The global theme of the World Business Angel Investor Week 2021 is business diplomacy for international entrepreneurship. The theme is to boost synergy between local entrepreneurs, angel investors, and governments to collaborate more in creating international entrepreneur and contribute to global economy. We had three main topics as we interpret G20, GPFI, and World Business Angels Investment Forum purpose, objective, and mission. The first one is the financial innovation to improve Indonesia's economy. The second one is improving business sustainability through circular economy. And the third one is the digital financial inclusion to reduce inequality. All the topics promote the goals of G20's 2021 presidency in people, planet, and prosperity. This international conference is broadcasted in 68 countries across 5 continents through the online channels of World Business Angel Investment Forum, an affiliated forum of Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion of G20 platform. Last but not least, I would like to express that we are very proud to present the World Business Angel Investors Week 2021 as part of our contribution and support for Indonesia, which has been trusted as the host for G20 for the very first time since its first establishment in 1999. Recover together, recover stronger is a very appropriate theme as an encouragement for Indonesia and world to be able to rise from this global pandemic condition. Thank you for your participation in this very first ever World Business Angel Investors Week 2021. We truly believe that you can be an international level entrepreneur. See you in the next G20 and World Business Angels Investment Forum event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Chairman Reza, for the closing speech. The last information that I would like to give is for the winners of our quiz today, supported by Telkomsel. You can claim the prize by contacting our Instagram at angelsweek.id. And we would like to also inform you that all crews, speakers, moderators that are participating today have been tested negative for COVID-19 at least one day before the event. I would like to thank you for your participation. Stay safe, stay healthy. My name is Aldi Rashid, your today's MC. See you next time.